Welcome to our video. I'm Marshall Shannon with Ministry Design Concepts. Today's video is part 4 of our Developing Volunteers, and I'm going to focus in on how do you influence people to volunteer. You know, what does that pathway look like? You're standing in front of your church and you're speaking to the congregation, or you've got a small group meeting with a portion of your congregation in a meeting, and you are seeking to convince them that they need to volunteer their time, talent, and treasure to help you further the cause of Christ through your church ministry. From time to time, my wife and I have the privilege and opportunity to attend banquets that really are fundraisers, that they are seeking to solicit both people to give of their monetary resources, money, and they're offering them the opportunity to serve in that ministry, whether it be a soup kitchen or a women's shelter or a rehabilitation center for drug addicts. Whatever the ministry is that is a nonprofit, parachurch, or in some way serving the community, they're always working to influence people. And the thought came to me, maybe we just need to talk about that with our subscribers, with our pastors and other ministry leaders that would take this training. So as we go through this, let me give you a key thing that I believe you need to grab a hold of, and that simply is this. Leaders should communicate in such a way as to stir the souls of people. When you communicate to them, there's a list of things that I'm going to give you, 7 in all, that I believe you need to do step after step in order to convince people, or to work with God as you partner with Him and He penetrates people's soul by His Holy Spirit to convince them to invest themselves in your ministries. So what does that process look like? Well, let's say that you're standing in front of your congregation, or a small portion of them, and you're wanting to convince them and solicit them to invest themselves, their time, talent, and treasures into your ministry. What might that look like? I've seen it done well, and I've seen it done not well at all. I've seen people sitting on the edge of their seats, ready to come forward to give of their time, talent, treasure, and I've seen people looking at their wristwatch, checking their cell phone for the time, looking and shifting in their seats to get comfortable because it's not relevant to them, it's not connecting with them, and it certainly isn't convincing them to donate their resources, personal and so forth, into a particular ministry. So let's say that you're standing in front of your congregation and you're going to speak to them. What should a communicator communicate to your congregation as you were speaking to them? I'm going to put all this in the same screen so you can see it, take notes. Further, you're thinking about it, but this is just to get your juices flowing, so to speak, to help you think about how you go about soliciting people to serve. It is said by research that was done by Warren Bird and one other gentleman, and it's published in the book The Other 80%, that only 20% of congregations are actively involved in serving in and through their church ministries. There's a lot of spectators that are sitting in the pews and are not actively participating in carrying out the mission of the church. They're not serving. So as we look at this, how do we fix that? And I believe just thinking through these 7 simple bullet points will help you take and really make this your own so that you can move your ministry forward. Here's the first one. I believe you have to inform people about the service you're wanting them to be involved in. Whether you do a ministry fair, like a job fair, but a ministry fair once a year, once a quarter, that you invite people to come in and learn about different ministries, and you've got directors of ministries with tables set up and maybe a video showing something about the ministry, but you want people to be informed, what is it about? And so in doing this, number one, simply tell them what is involved and required of them. Somewhat the what, when, where, who, and how, maybe why, that they're going to be serving. And so if you're wanting them to give their money and their time and a certain particular skill set that they have to be willing to do, and then a length of time that they are committing to. You want people to be aware of the needs of your ministry. So inform them. Give them the information. You can do this by video, on your website, in your services, on your blog post, through Facebook, and any other social media that you want to tap into to connect with your people so that they know here's a need. Here's why we're doing this. Here's what we're accomplishing. Here's what it looks like. Here are the positions and the people skills that we need, or the ministry skills that we need. You want to inform them. The second thing is you better be able to inspire people to serve. Now I'm going to give you some suggestions, and you may not like them, but this really is just my perspective on it from doing this for 35 years. Spending 45 minutes talking to them, probably, the average attention span of an adult in our country, last time I looked at it, was 18 minutes. So, you're going on and on and on about this ministry, and it's not inspiring them. You're actually convincing them to get away from you as quick as they can and go invest themselves in some other way. If you want to inspire people to invest themselves in it, you need to show them through certain methodologies that work better. I'm not saying don't preach to them, don't inform them, teach them. I'm not saying not to do a panel and do an interview with people on the panel, live panel, and ask them questions about, why they served. That interview or testimonial can be fine. I would tell you that in today's culture, it seems to me that well-done videos that you can put on your PowerPoint screen, your big video screens in your auditorium, on your TV monitors as they come through the building, in a small group on your website, on your Facebook page, on and on, that a well-done video just speaks volumes because it can be edited. Music and narration can be put to it. You can capture close-up of people's face and eyes, their posture. You can tell stories with these testimonials, and it can help. So, you may want to communicate about it through a newsletter, through a blog post, through a Facebook post. But ultimately, you have to determine how your congregation is inspired to serve. What methods do you do that work? And apply it to your particular context, your particular situation with your congregation as to what motivates them to serve. Maybe it's the part of seeing something and being a part of something that is God-sized and bigger than they are. Maybe it's the impact that they'll have now and then later, the eternal impact. Maybe it's the benefit and the people that are going to benefit from it, that God just touches their heart and they are inspired to come and serve for a season and to be able to be a part of what God is doing in and through your ministry. You've got to motivate them, to inspire them. I would tell you to tell stories, from interviewing people right in front of them, or standing at the pulpit and give a testimony, or using a well-produced video that is larger than life and will be used to touch them. If you want examples of that, go to YouTube, Go through Facebook, and you'll find motivational ones to help people. Show them the people that they're helping. Show them the ministry that they're doing. Show them the impact that it is having. Talk about the cost and the casualties and how you have helped rescue a particular group of people in a particular set of ways, or what an impact it is having. And so inspire them. And then the next thing is, along with inspiring them, you've really got to influence people to serve. They get inspired, but now you've got to put the rubber where the road meets so they can get traction with it and influence them to take that step, to have that meeting with you, to sign up online or in person. However you're sucking them in, engaging them into the ministry, that you're going to recruit them and engage them to serve. So influencing people is a part of the inspiration and part of the information that they need to see. Why are you doing this ministry? Why is it important for them? What impact is it having? What are you doing? Where are you doing it? When are you doing it? Who is needed to help you carry out this ministry, and who are you helping or serving or reaching or discipling? Who? What will be the impact of their life? How will they help change people's lives for the better? And how will their life be transformed to honor God? And so you want to inform people, you want to inspire them where they're motivated, and you want to influence them to take that step, to go ahead and pull the lever and vote that they're going to help you, and begin to then engage. And while you're doing this, you better issue invitations to serve. And so you make it personal. You give them particular needs and particular skill sets that they will need, if they need a particular skill set. You know, you may just need warm bodies, people to open doors, people to hand out bulletins, people to hand out flyers, people to help clean up in between services, people to work as attendants in the parking lot, or, you know, security, any number of things that really a person doesn't need a particular skill set, even though I would argue the parking lot attendant, when I have seen it done right and I've seen it done correctly, just a couple of times in over 100 churches that we have visited, where they even had people out in the parking lot and signs to help you park and know where to enter the buildings. But when I've seen it done right, that person standing there with a yellow jacket on or some kind of shirt and a lamp in their hand, a flashlight in their hand, maybe a cap on, and they're communicating to people, you know, this way to park. When I've seen that done right, that's a special kind of person that is able to communicate with nonverbal, physical movements of their body, their facial expression, their eye contact they make with the driver and others in the car, to help that person find their parking space, greeters to take them from the car to where they need to be in the building. You need to invite people and help them find their place. It comes back to your theology of ministry. What do you believe about 1 Corinthians 12 through 14 and the other passages that are laid out in front of us in Scripture to help us understand how God's thinking is set up for us to involve people who are willing to invest themselves in God and in others in and through our ministries? You've got to issue an invitation to them so that they can engage. Here's the fifth step. You've got to involve people through providing them different entry points or entry levels where they can engage in ministries. Make it non-threatening. Make it easy for them to commit. And yes, in certain ministries in your church, like the children's ministry, where you have to do background screens and any number of other things, and training and supervision to make certain that people working with, you know, that toddler, that they are approved and you're certain that they have the temperament and everything else, that they are cleared to be able to serve. but you want to involve people. You may give them an opportunity to serve for 2 weeks. 2 Sundays is all you're asking them to do, and to show up to help you with something. And you let them get their toe in the water. You let them stick their toe in the water to see that it has a good temperature and it's going to be comfortable, and then you can invite them and move them parallel to other jobs or to other kinds of ministry that may require their particular level of commitment but skill set, their capabilities. You want to then, along with involving people, it's just try and include everybody. You want to move everyone from being a spectator to a participant. All kinds of entry points to service. All kinds of interest in serving, and, commitment levels, capabilities, capacities for serving. But you want to include people. What if you had somebody come to your church that is a full-grown adult but is physically handicapped? Perhaps they're blind or deaf or dumb. And you want them to be able to serve. Don't you think you ought to include them? Let me ask you another thing. This comes back to your own theology of ministry. I have to work as a ministry coach within the framework of your theology. So it's not for me to dictate to you. You have to be convinced in your own mind what is God's mind on every matter. But what about you've got this young couple with 2 kids who are 6 and 3 years of age. The parents are in their late 20s, early 30s. They've been married 10 years. And they come to church, and 2 families have been working regularly with them, in their neighborhood and their neighbors. And then finally they come to church and they see what you're doing. They hear your motivational speech. They maybe read about it on your website, or people working with them talk about it, and they say, we really would like to have a part in serving to this ministry through your church. And they're unchurched. They're not believers. You really need to know, where can we include, or if you should include, lost people in serving in your ministry. And you've got to think through it. If you've got questions about that, just email me. Call me. Set a time to call me. But you want to include people. The point is to give people the understanding that they need to be disciples who make other disciples. And part of that is service. And so this is a part of being and doing who God wants them to be. So you need to include people. And you need to involve people, and you need to invite them as you influence them and seek to motivate, inspire them to serve. And they need to know what in the world your ministries are like. So you can approach this and make this look any number of ways. And I would suggest that you experiment. Just because you fail a time or two, don't stop. Keep moving ahead, but always tweak something and sometimes throw out a system and adopt a whole new one. Here's the last point. The last point is once you get them included and involved and engaged and they're in a ministry, make certain that you instruct them beforehand and during so that they know how they need to come prepared to serve, when they need to show up, what they're going to do, how long they're going to serve, who they're going to be reaching, what the policies and procedures are, what the game plan is and the strategic plan. They need to know everything that they are doing, the where, when, how, what, who, and why of ministering. But you need to support them instead of just throwing them in the water and saying, sink or swim, that you instruct them. It may be that they sit and observe someone doing the task and then join them with doing the task, and then the person training them watches them as they do the task, and eventually they're doing the task by themselves. Now, that may take a week or 4 weeks or 15 minutes or 10 weeks, depending on what you're doing, but you're going to have to give instruction to people for them to feel comfortable with investing themselves in the ministry. It means you have to manage and lead, care and equip and to train them and educate them and enrich their lives to do what they're called to do. So if you're struggling with your communication, maybe you need to change the way you communicate what your ministry is about and what you're trying to accomplish. But the point is, you've got to do, I think, these 7 simple steps close together, maybe some of them together, and you're moving in a linear way. But how you go about it, God's going to customize your approach to communicating these things to them so that people can get off the pew and in your ministry to invest themselves for eternity. Because part of inspiring them and influencing them to serve is understanding the eternal impact that you're going to have on the people you're serving. You're doing them good both now and forever as you minister to their souls. So a communicator ought to communicate in such a way as to stir the souls of people to invest themselves willingly in what God has called them to do as a believer, or they ought to strongly consider why they don't want to serve. Well, I hope this has been helpful. I'm Marshall Shannon, Ministry Design Coach with Ministry Design Training and Concepts. You can reach me at this email address or either one of these phone numbers. We'll be happy to talk with you. Lord bless you as you seek to move your congregation from being those who are consumers and spectators to becoming participants and those who are giving and providing for others.